This is Matujanijia, and I welcome you to this masterclass and workshop called Break Free from Shame. We have 60 minutes ahead of us and 3 important steps that we will take today. Number 1, we will be talking about how to reframe shame, and I will offer 5 powerful insights. Number 2, we'll be doing specific process for resolving shame that I do with all my clients when I work with them one-on-one. Number 3, we will finish with the self-hypnosis recording. Let us jump into the presentation right away. Shame is not something you have. Shame is something you learn to do, and let me show you how to change it. Let us talk about my story very briefly. I have been raised up in shame, and there were 3 important environments where I learned shame. Number 1 was within my family. Number 2 was in my church. I was raised as a Catholic. There was a lot of shaming there. And number 3, in school. So there were like these three different influences. The important thing to understand is you don't need to know why you carry shame and why you are being ashamed of specific behaviors or yourself. It's not important. What is important is to know how, and we will be changing the how today together. What happened to me was that I lived in shame for 36 years without me knowing it, but as soon as I realized it, I started to dig deep, and I realized that it was indeed shame. I learned how to reframe shame inside. I learned how to release shame, and ever since, it's been 2 years, I've been working using this process that I'm going to show you today, helping others in one-on-one setup how to release their shame once and for all. Let us talk about 5 insights about shame. Number 1, shame is learned. Shame is not innate. You were not born with shame. Let me explain. When you were born, imagine a timeline of events. So you were born, and then you grow up, and now this is today. You were not born with shame. So if you feel shame today and you didn't feel shame there must have been experience or a couple of them in between where you picked up shame. You were not born ashamed. You were not born embarrassed. You were not born with feeling less than others or inferior with others. You picked it up somewhere. You learned it. You learned to associate shame with a specific trigger. And today, going through the process that I will guide you through, you will learn how to release that shame, not only from that experience, not only from another experience, but from all the experiences that you associate with shame. What is also important, you not only learned how to associate shame with a trigger, but it is highly likely that you learn to see specific behaviors as shameful. And many times what happens is that people learn to see themselves as shameful, right? So once again, this is not something that we are born with. There are specific emotions that you are born with, like fear, but shame is not one of them. And so shame is something that you picked up, and today I will guide you through the specific process, how you can let it go, how you can drop it. So that's number 1. Number 2, shame isn't who you are. Many times people believe that shame is this integral part of them. It's like, I'm feeling shame about something that I do. I feel shame about myself. So therefore, shame resides somewhere inside. Once again, shame isn't something you have. Shame is something you do. And shame is not a part of you. Shame is a mental strategy you do. You have an external trigger, or it could be internal trigger, some kind of mental thought, some kind of thought process. There is a mental strategy, step-by-step strategy, how you start to do the shameful feeling. And once you feel this feeling that is called shame, that's the experience of shame. But again, this is not something inside you. This is something that you do, and this is something that we can change today, and we will change today. So that's number 2. Number 3, shame causes distorted self-perception. Shame distorts how you see yourself. So typical shameful image that people usually hold in their minds is if they think about some kind of scenario, some kind of event, they consider themselves to be smaller than other people around them. Usually they see a still picture, so it's not like a movie, but it's a still picture. It's usually dark and gloomy. Often it is with very little colors. It's almost like the colors shaded from this image, or it's completely black and white. And the most important characteristic of this picture is that people usually see this judgmental expression on people's faces, especially eyes. The eyes. Yeah, I wrote here, the eyes, because the Over the last 2 years, I worked with more than 20 people on resolving shame, and it has been the same experience for all of them. Whenever I asked them, what do you need to think of to start feeling shame, they thought of some kind of memory or some kind of event where they saw themselves smaller, where they saw these judgmental eyes or judgmental faces, where everything kind of stopped and everything was focused on the judgment around them, right? What often happens as well is that they see themselves in the picture distorted. So they are not the same, not only the same size, they are smaller, but they also have somewhat crooked posture or crooked their body in that image, right? And so if your mental environment that you carry with yourself wherever you go is populated by these distorted images, even just a couple of them, then you don't be surprised that your self-perception is distorted. You don't be surprised that you have low self-esteem. You don't be surprised that you have low self-worth if you are carrying shame all around, right? But once again, this is something that you learned to categorize. So within your subconscious mind, you learn to categorize specific experiences and you put them in some specific basket. And what we will do today is we will just take that basket and we'll move and transform this basket together. Number 3, distorted self-perception. Number 4, shame creates reverse causality. And this is something that is important to understand. Shame creates reverse causality of events. Many people believe that I do some behavior, some shameful behavior. And because I do this shameful behavior, I don't know, I'm smoking, I'm drinking, I'm doing some addiction or, some thought processes, or I have some ideas that come to me. And that's why I feel shame. Well, actually, the fact is that it's quite the opposite. Because you were taught shame, because you were, for lack of better words, infected with shame, the shame became your emotional home. And because the shame became your emotional home, it is something that is almost addictive. It is something that your subconscious is seeking out. It's almost as if you had a checklist within your subconscious mind, and then every morning or every couple of days you wake up and your subconscious is like, I'm craving a hit. I'm craving a hit. What can we do? What can we do today? What can you think about, or what can we do? Something that I can feel a little bit of that, that nice, juicy, toxic shame. So emotional homes are something that is familiar to us. And that's why we return to them again and again and again and again. The brain always chooses what works, not what is, not the brain doesn't always choose what works. It always chooses what is familiar. And so when something is familiar, you go there again and again and again, even if it sucks, like shame sucks. And so what we are going to do today is we are going to change these familiar images into a completely different vibration. And so there will be a different emotional home, emotional state attached to these images. And therefore, you will be drawn towards that familiarity, drawn towards a different vibration. Once again, reverse causality is not only about shame, it is about all emotions that become our emotional homes. So if it's joy, then you wake up every couple of days feeling like I want to get a hit of joy. And so this reverse causality is not something to change. What is important to change is change what your emotional home is. And if one of those emotional homes is shame, let us continue. Number 5, this is something that I wanna stop for a while here. Shame is something that stands in the way of manifestation. Now, if some of you might know David Hawkins's levels of consciousness, where he talks about all these different emotional states and different emotional vibration, where he placed shame all the way at the bottom. If you carry shame, you believe that you don't deserve good things. And if you believe that you don't deserve good things unconsciously, then it is hard to go after them. It is hard to motivate yourself to get them. It is hard to even have kind of faith or hope that you can get something like that. Another thing that is important is that you are then reactive to needs of others, right? Because because others are bigger than you, you look at others, what they are doing, and kind of go with that instead of going with what you want. And indeed, it is quite difficult to know what you want. I will be talking about it very soon. But shame is almost like this distorted field that comes ahead in front of your eyes, and it's really hard to see through that and to see what is actually something that is for you, what is something that you want for yourself, because you have been implanted by all these different standards and values and boundaries of others. It's hard to see what is actually your boundary, what is your standard. So 5 reframes about shame, and let us talk about the most important part to understand, and that is, what isn't shame? Many people, just like I did for 36 years of my life, mistake shame with guilt. Now, guilt can be a powerful motivator. For those of you who know human design, guilt is one of 6 motivations, like 6 true motivations, and guilt is one of the most powerful motivators for humanity. And it can be indeed used in the positive way if one knows how to navigate it. But there are differences between guilt and shame, and especially for people who have their motivation guilt, like, for example, some people who join me for this masterclass. It's very important to know the distinction and to learn to navigate life where these are my boundaries and these are actually somebody else's. So let us talk about guilt. Guilt comes about as a consequence of violating my own personal standards. I go through life, I have my own boundaries, my own personal standards. I cross them and I feel guilty because I know that I crossed my own standards. What is the effect? The effect is that I crossed specific boundaries. I know specifically what I crossed. And I have, within shame, there is this mental representation of the harm that I caused to others. So it comes with this understanding, with this deep understanding of, oh, I crossed boundaries and I harmed other people. Because I crossed boundaries, I feel guilty. Or I harmed myself and I feel guilty. What are the symptoms of guilt? Is that there is desire to correct or amend wrongdoings. There is a guilt that is derived from actions or inactions. That is, the guilt is all about what I did or what I didn't do. And this is important distinction. I'll talk about shame. And with guilt, there is always focus on corrective actions. Whenever guilt arises, it is quite natural to be like, okay, what can I do? What can I do now to correct the situation? Or let us do that, right? But what is shame? Shame is something that I call a transferred guilt. Shame arises as a feeling of violating external standards. So some authority figure, or multiple, just like it was in my case, they come to you and they say, you should feel guilty. In other words, you should feel ashamed because you crossed my standard, right? The problem is that often you are not really sure of what the standard was, right? Let us talk about the effects. Once you feel shame is this deep fear of rejection. It brings deep fear of rejection and abandonment. So it's almost like, I wanna go with this because if I don't go with it, I can lose my membership in the tribe, for lack of better words, right? Like this is like hardwired in us that we want to be part of tribe. And if tribe members come to us and they say, oh, you should feel ashamed, you should not do this one, then it is almost like this, it kind of switches on. And we're like, okay, yeah, I will take this shame, even though I don't know why I did it, right? There is a big confusion often about the specificity of the standard, right? The message is like, oh, you should feel shame, or shame on you, or I would feel ashamed if I did that. Many times leave us like, okay, I feel shame, but I really don't know why. Like I don't know exactly the standard. And now, just like I was saying previously, once you take on transferred guilt from others, once you start to kind of carry the shame, it's almost like this glass through which it's really difficult to see. And it's really difficult to see your own standards, because even these standards that you feel bad about, and actually you are feeling bad about yourself, are not really clear. And so you are feeling bad about something that is not really clear, then it kind of generalizes and you start to be not clear about other standards. It's important to let go of shame. It's important to clarify the standard. And once this happens, then and only then can you start to really be clear about what your standards are, what your boundaries are, and how to go about reaching them. Let us talk about symptoms. Symptoms of shame are disconnection from others, feeling of inferiority. So you are inferior to others. You are feeling less than others, and shame often is derived from a sense of self. So it's not derived from action or inaction, but often once this message has been repeated, people start to derive shame from themselves. It's like, I don't even know what I did. I just feel ashamed of myself, just like I did, right? The focus is not on the corrective actions, like with guilt. It's like, I feel guilt, let's correct it. The focus is on judgment. It's like, I feel shame, or I feel so bad about myself. It's like this downward spiral, right? And one last thing to say about how do you do shame, and I'm just going to repeat a couple of things. There are two things connected with regards to shame. Number one, cognitive experience is often like 95% is the same for all of us, how we do shame. There is an image, often there is an image that we connect with shame. It's like some kind of visualization that involves being judged by larger, still disapproving figures. There are these eyes, there are these faces. In the image, we can be distorted. The images are usually dark and still, so there is no movement in them. And this contributes to the emotional heaviness. So, I mean, here is the thing. If you go to the cinema and you end up watching a horror, don't be surprised that you are afraid. Like it's kind of obvious, right? If you mentally rehearse again and again mental images from the past where you see yourself smaller, everybody's judging you, everything is stopped, and you can see these judgmental figures, and everything is dark and gloomy and stopped, don't be surprised that you feel bad about the person being judged in that situation, right? But you can transform it, and we are almost there. Lack of clarity is the second thing. That is inability to describe specific standard. Shame often comes with I don't know, I feel shame, but I really don't know why. I just know that I feel shame because they told me, right? They told me around us. Let us begin. This is all of me talking to your conscious mind, and now let us move from masterclass into the workshop part of this experience. I would like to invite you to uncross your hands, uncross your legs, and we will start this experience with an explanation of what we are going to do. I want to just invite you to just relax, breathe, and we will go step by step. We have 4 steps that we will take today. Number 1, we will use TFT tapping. So you will use your dominant hand. Mine is right, but if you are left-handed, use left hand. Use 2 or 3 fingers for tapping specific points. I will show you which, and I will explain why this is happening. Energy psychology to release stuck shame-related energy. Number 2, we will use process that is called NLP reframing, where we shift your perception and beliefs about shame without me talking, with you experiencing. Number 3, we will use timeline technique to go back in time to address the root cause of shame. And indeed, we actually will travel before the origin event, so not really into origin event. Can be safe and secure because we are not going into dark images anymore. And number 4, we will finish with hypnosis. We will go into hypnosis. I will guide you through specifically designed self-hypnosis recording that is called Shame-Free Living. Let's start with the TFT tapping. So why it works, how it works, and the tapping algorithm. The TFT tapping is based on the very simple premise, and that is when you are emotionally triggered, when you are struggling with something, when you are experiencing some traumatic experience, some traumatic effect, some emotion, it is because they believe, and I believe too, it is because there is some trapped energy inside you. But this trapped energy is not always obvious. It is not always kind of awake. It's often dormant, right? Like you don't even know about it. And TFT tapping, TFT stands for thought field therapy. is all about combination of two things. Number one, inviting this specific thought field into your present moment. So thinking about something that is triggering this specific situation. And number two, we are using 2 or 3 fingers on our dominant hand to tap specific energetic points, meridian points on our body to release this stuck energy. There is a specific algorithm to it for specific issues. There are specific procedures, and how it works, I just described. We will start. So simply, I want to invite you to focus your eyes somewhere ahead of you. Find one point at the wall somewhere above your eye level, and imagine and pretend that you are putting the word shame there. It can be your shameful picture. It can be, you feeling ashamed, or it can be just a word shame. We are just inviting shame into the thought field. And as you take your dominant hand, you will start tapping. There is this sequence of 5 points. SH stands for side of the hand. So we are tapping on the side of the hand. And as we are tapping, we are looking at that point over there. And tapping 10, 15, 20 times. Feeling something, feeling nothing, doesn't really matter. What matters is to go through the entire algorithm so the energy is released. Number 2, we are tapping under the nose above your upper lip. And again, just looking at that spot, imagining that shame, just channeling that shame, letting it occupy our present moment, invited it into thought field. If you notice, CH, chin, we are moving to chin, is actually shame center. So if we are focusing on shame, let us stand there for a little bit. We are tapping these 5 points to remove any emotional blocks that could be potentially standing in the way. We are standing here on the chin, tapping, 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 tapping. Now we are moving to the middle finger next to the nail, closer to the thumb, and we are tapping over there. And again, just looking at the spot, imagining that shame over there, objectifying shame for us. Very good. And now OE, which is outside edge of the eye, that is temples, and we are tapping, 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 and looking at that spot once again. And very good. And you can now relax your hands. You can, again, make sure that your arms are apart and legs are apart, so the midsection of your body is not crossing. And let us go into the step number 2, and that is NLP reframing. NLP reframing has a couple of points. And for this process to be effective, I would like to invite you to close your eyes now. And as you close your eyes, I'm going to guide you through this process. Now, often this process I do with one of my clients on one-on-one session, but I find that it's equally effective if I do it in this setup, because what is really important is to understand your own mental environment for yourself. And this process will guide you to this understanding. Number 1, I'm going to just invite you to take a long and deep breath and just release. Just let it go. And as you release, here is the time for you to imagine and pretend your timeline of experiences. All of us have our own imaginary timeline where all our past experiences reside. And for this exercise, I'm going to invite you to imagine and pretend that your timeline is the line that is going and is starting in the midsection of your body, somewhere around your chest area. And your past timeline is spreading all the way behind you, nicely spread all the way behind you, outside of your field of focus. And then all that is going to happen in the future is spreading nicely ahead of you, starting in the midsection again and just going ahead of you. Now, for this experience, for this exercise, we'll be focusing on the past timeline. And I'm going to invite you soon to consider using your unconscious mind, which happens really just like this, very fast. I would like to ask you to consider and to bring into your mind a specific situation or specific image that comes to mind when you think about something that makes you feel ashamed. I'm just gonna ask a couple of questions. And the more I talk, the more clear this image comes to your mind. The clearer it becomes, you will start to realize all the characteristics of this image. When do you feel shame? What is it that you feel shame about? It may take you a few moments to become aware of what you have to see or maybe say to yourself to experience shame. But almost everyone has a picture. Although they often aren't aware of it at first, maybe it can help to ask, if I knew what it was, what would the picture be? And see what comes to mind. And when you have this image as it comes, I would like to ask you to start to focus on the characteristics of this image. Here, it's very important in this image to not really pay attention to the content of this image. What we are after is to identify a specific image, specific situation that made you feel ashamed. It can be just a memory, it can be a recent one, it can be very, very long ago. But once you have it, we are going to focus on these characteristics of this image. Number one, I want to ask you, and I want you to remember when or become aware, where is this image located? You see, many times people see shameful images in a specific location. It can be right in front of them, it can be on the left-hand side, it can be on the right-hand side, it can be up or down. I want to ask you just to become aware of where this image is located, just in your mind. Because we are now very, very fast moving towards size of this image. Do you see this image as a life-size image? Or is it somewhat smaller, maybe even in the distance somewhere? And if the size is becoming more and more noticeable, what is the size that you notice? You are now aware of the location of the image, you are now aware of the size. And just remember it. And let us move to another thing. And that is this image in color? Or is it, as it often is the case, is it somehow faded? Like the colors have faded from this image, or it's even black and white, right? And just become aware of what is in that image. Like, is it in color? Or is it in black and white? Another thing, important thing is this a still image or is it a movie? Is it a moving image? And again, just become aware. Often what is the case is that people see still image, but it can be different. It can be maybe slowed down or it can be completely still. It can be just one frame. And then also very important, when you notice yourself, your size compared to others, are you somehow smaller, as is often the case? Can you notice something strange, something weird about yourself? Something, when you notice it, that makes you feel bad about yourself? Maybe you are somehow distorted in this image. Just pay attention, close attention to yourself. And then pay attention to others. When you notice others, are they somehow bigger in this image? Are they somehow judging you in this image? Do you notice something about their faces or something about their eyes? That's right. And as you are focusing on this, one last step is to become aware of how do you represent this image in your mind. That is, are you experiencing this situation from the first person perspective? Are you associated? Do you see it through your own eyes? Or, as it's often the case, do you see it from dissociated perspective? That is, you don't see it through your own eyes, and you actually see it as if you were watching a movie. So once again, let us review very quickly. As you are watching this image, you are becoming aware of the location of this image, of the size of this image, of the color or no color in this image, of the movement or no movement in this image. You are becoming aware of the size of you compared to others, and you are becoming aware of you being associated or dissociated, that is, watching it from the first person or third person perspective. But now it's time for us to move this image on the side. As you become aware of this and how you internally represent shame, how you categorize shame. It is time for you to move it on the side. I'm going to count from 1 to 5, and with each and every number, you will start to move this image on the side, clearing your mind, cleansing the space, just moving it on the side, because we will come to it, but not just yet. So as I count from 1, you are moving it on the side, and 2 and 3, just pushing it on the side, and 4, and clean slate now 5. You can take a deep breath in. You can settle yourself. And now it's time for you to think about a completely different image. I would like to invite you now to think of a time, a completely different time, when you have violated a standard, but you didn't feel ashamed at all. When you have broken somebody else's boundary, but you didn't feel bad. Instead, you dealt with the situation in a manner you consider appropriate. You felt empowered. You felt resourceful. Consider a specific situation, specific scenario where you were in your own right, even though others disapproved, even though others might have judged you. Others use example from their business or from their work, where they were really strong and powerful, let's say in some meeting, and they were in their own right, standing strong and powerful and courageous and confident, and maybe others disapproved, but this image is completely different. It is categorized in your subconscious differently. And so, again, I would like to invite you to become aware of the image that comes to mind of a time when you violated a standard, but you didn't feel ashamed, when you crossed somebody else's boundary, but you felt resourceful. And now, as you become aware of this image, I would like to invite you now to again consider the following characteristics of this image. And I want to count from 1 to 5 for you to bring this image right there in your mental environment, so we can work with it as I count from 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And now you are becoming more and more aware of this image. So number 1, I want to ask you once again, where is this picture located? Is it, again, right in front of you, on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, up and down? It can be in the same location, like the previous image, or it can be a different location. Notice the differences. The second thing, what is the size of the image? Is it life-sized image, or is it somehow different image? There you go. And now notice the color. Is there a color? Usually in this empowering, resourceful image, there is a lot of color. There is a vivid color, but maybe it's different. Just notice that. Is it still image, or is it moving image? And again, just notice what is happening. What is happening in this situation? Often this is a movie. We can see ourselves being empowered, being in our own right, being standing strong and tall and confident, and we can see moving this image, but it can be different. The size of you compared to others. Often the case is that the image that we see is where we see ourselves in the same size like others. So just compare it. How do you see? Sometimes we see ourselves a little bit bigger than others, right? You can notice others around yourself, and you can notice their expression, right? They might still be judging, but maybe there is a difference to it. Maybe it's a little bit different. Maybe the sensation that comes to you is a little bit different. And then lastly, you notice whether you see this image from your first perspective, first person, or from the third person perspective. And just remember it. And when you have it, when you know the location, when you know the size, when you know the color, when you know whether it's still or moving, when you know your size compared to others, which is probably the same, if not even slightly bigger, when you see yourself associated or dissociated, remember it, because now it's time for you to become aware of the differences between the first shameful image and between the second resourceful image. You can see clear differences, maybe in color, maybe in movement, maybe in the location, maybe in the size of the image, definitely in the size of you. I would assume that you see the clear difference between size of you here and size of you over there. And now let's do the magic together. I'm going to ask you now and invite you to bring back the shameful image that you were holding in your mind before. But as you bring into your mind this shameful image, I want to ask you now to imagine and pretend that as it is coming back into your mental environment, you are holding in your hand a remote control. A remote control that allows you to change characteristics of this image. So you can now start to press buttons on this remote control to change this shameful image into the same characteristics like that resourceful image. So if you need to make yourself bigger, just press a couple of buttons, click, 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 and make yourself bigger. So you are the same size like others. If you need to make yourself or need to make others less disapproving, you can click, 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 and you can erase their judgy eyes or judgy expressions. If you need to add a little bit color or a lot of color into this image, again, just click it, clack, add more color into this image. If you need to press play because you noticed that that image before was paused, it was just a still picture, and now you want to start moving it, just press play, and it starts to move. And as you are transforming this into the same location, making it the same size, making it the same color, making it the same type of movement, making you the same size like others, erasing this judgmental feeling, and changing it into associated versus dissociated, just like it was in the resourceful image, you can start to notice shifts deep within. As you are clicking on the remote control, you are noticing shifts internally because you are now recategorizing this image from the category that you used to have it into a resourceful category. So as you are considering this image, it is transforming in front of your eyes. And when you have done so, and I'm going to count to 5, and you are done by the count of 5, you are done with it. As I count from 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. That's right. You are done now. It is time for you to notice, and this is very important to notice, the standards, because now you finally can. When you are looking at that shameful or what used to be shameful experience now being transformed into resourceful image, what are the standards that you see now that you become aware that you have crossed in this situation? What are the standards that you broke? What are the standards that you violated? What are the boundaries that you crossed? And as you are becoming aware of it, it almost comes to you very quickly. It's like, oh, okay, so this is what I crossed. The question is quite simple, and that is this a standard you want to keep for yourself? Or is it someone else's standard? Now, if you want to keep it for yourself, then be my guest, keep it for yourself. But if you don't want to keep it for yourself, if you don't want this standard, what standard would you choose instead? And now allow your unconscious mind to come up with the standard very quickly. And when you have the standard, you're like, I would choose this one. Great. Now, is this standard one that you would be happy to have others in your life also use? And if the answer is yes, then we can continue with the next step. If no, go back to the standard and generate a new one. And then again, if you are happy with the standard and you are happy with others in your life to use it as well, let us move on to the next step. Well done. And now we are going to do something quite familiar now. We were talking about that familiarity. I'm going to invite you now to clear your mind. Again, at the count of 5, you will allow your mind to clear. The image simply disappears and the mind will be blank and ready to continue as I count from 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Now clearing your mind, and let us jump into another experience, another image. I would like to ask your unconscious mind to very quickly scan your past timeline of experiences and find another experience that you used to feel shame in, or whenever you thought about this image. And I'm pretty sure that people who carry shame, they have more images than one. So we are inviting you to bring this another image. It can be another situation, it can be with a different person, it can be with the same person, it can be in a completely different environment. Whatever comes to your mind, it is coming, it is coming, it is happening, it is here now. That's right. But now, as you are watching this image, and maybe you feel a little bit of that shame, it is time for you to very quickly grab your remote control. And as you grab your remote control, as you look at this situation, it is time to start clicking buttons. So number one, I want to ask you to relocate that image exactly where you had that resourceful image, the image that make you feel so proud and confident and courageous. Just make it into the same location. Clickety-clack, change the size of that image so it's the same like this resourceful image. You are now adding color into that. If the color was missing there, you can just click, 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 and make it bright and vivid. And if it was still picture, you press play and it starts to move. If you need to press a couple of times, you just press, 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 press until it starts to move comfortably, just as the same like the resourceful image. That's right. And now, clicking the buttons to making yourself bigger. Clicking buttons to make yourself bigger, 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 even bigger, exactly the same size of like you were in this resourceful image. If it was that you were slightly bigger than others, be my guest, just clickety clack and make yourself exactly like that. And then one last time, one last thing. If you were associated, make yourself with the press of a button fully associated. If you are dissociated, just zoom out of that image so you transform it exactly into the same characteristics like that resourceful image. That's right. And when you have done so, I'm going to count to 5 and it will be done as I count from 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 5. That's right. You are doing it. It's much faster now. And now it is time for you to consider standards. So again, looking at that situation, looking at what is happening in that situation, what were the standards that you crossed? What were the standards that you violated? You are now becoming aware of that. You are now becoming aware of what was the boundary that you crossed, what was the standard that you crossed. And now, as you become aware of it, the question is quite simple once again. Is this a standard you want to keep for yourself, or is it someone else's standard? That's right. And as you become aware of it, you know now if you don't want the standard, if you want the standard, you can keep it and then let us carry on. But if you don't want the standard, what standard would you choose for yourself instead? And you can hear from my environment, it's really interesting sound coming. So once again, becoming aware of the standard, becoming aware if you want the standard for yourself, and now making a decision if you want the standard for yourself or not. Now, if you don't want the standard, what would be the standard that you choose instead? What would you choose instead of the standard? How would you go about it? And again, let us use the golden rule. If you choose a different standard, is the standard that you are choosing one that you would be happy for others in your life to use as well? And if so, then let us keep it there, let us keep it in place. And now, as we repeated this process, it is time for us to send this picture away. I'm going to count from 1 to 5, and the picture will be sent exactly where it belongs, but this time transformed as I count from 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And now, as you focus on the future, I would like to invite you to focus on the future, wherever you are in your history. I would like to invite you to focus on the future because you can notice now that you now know and you can make a distinction between the standards of you and standards of others. And you can always, always, always decide what you want to do and what your standards is what your standard is, and then imagine yourself acting accordingly in future situations in which this difference in standards might come up. What is really important now for us to do is to take you on a journey. And I would like to ask you to pay attention to the past timeline of experiences. As you focus on your past timeline of experiences, I would like for your unconscious mind now to pinpoint a specific point in your past. And it can be very, very long time ago. But I would like to ask your unconscious mind to pinpoint a specific point in your past when you experienced shame for the very first time. And now it is the earliest experience of shame. Let's say that you were 4 years old. We don't really know, but your unconscious mind knows exactly. And for now, it is very important now to take this new learned ability to deal with shame back. But as you travel back, I would like to invite you to imagine and pretend that you are now taking this ability to transform these shameful images. You taking this remote control with you, and you are traveling all the way back before the earliest experience of shame. So if you are 4 years old, go back when you were 3. If you are 6, go back when you were 5. Wherever, however far you need to travel, just take this remote control back with you. And as you travel back into the previous or the first origin event, I'm going to invite you now to drop down into your body, and you become fully associated before you were ever exposed to experience of shame. And now I'm going to ask you to imagine and pretend that you will start to travel rapidly forward through time, taking this remote control, taking this new ability with you. And as you move rapidly forward through time, this all happens on the unconscious level, so it happens very, very fast. You are growing up, going through all these different experiences that in the past you used to associate shame with them. But as you now rapidly move forward through time, you can let all your old experiences of shame shift as you move up through time into the present moment, making all the changes click, 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 click every single time that you need it. Again, moving through another one, click, 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 click. And as you are moving forward through time, you may have some sense of how your old experiences shift. You can get a feeling, you can get a sense, you can notice it within your body. And after you arrive in the present moment, you can take a deep breath in. That's right. And you can now look back on your past to see how it is different, how you have transformed it even as I speak. And now it is time for you to take the one last step. And I want to ask you to imagine and pretend that you see yourself moving on into the future with these new abilities. And as you are moving into the future, it starts to play on the screen of your mind. You can get a sense of how your future will also be different with this new skill. As you are moving into a future scenario, it can be a scenario where in the past, some similar scenario to those past ones, where in the past you might have felt a sense of shame, but now you notice how you see this scenario completely differently. As you step inside of yourself in that scenario, you can see what you see through your own eyes, and hear what you hear, and feel what you feel as you take this experience of having your own perspective and having a new way to respond to not meeting someone else's standard along with you into this experience. As you arrive, as you notice that you are holding this remote control, you can see yourself and experience yourself responding differently with this new resource. And now you know the truth that no one on this earth meets all their standards all the time. If nothing else, there are times when two standards are in conflict with each other, and you have to make a tough choice between these two standards. However, being having gone through this process, being where you are right now, you can now and into the future think of yourself as being a person who notices when you violate your own standards and adjusts your behavior for the future as a much more important standard to meet than any other particular standard. And now you know that you never have to feel ashamed anymore because either you shrug something off as not important to you or you do something to correct the situation. And as you take a long and deep breath in, you can allow to integrate it all deep within. And I'm going to count from 1 to 3, and I'm just going to invite you to come back into here and now as I count from 1, returning back into the present moment, and 2, listening to my voice, slowly finding yourself in your own body, fully present and fully alert. And now 3, coming back, opening your eyes, ready to continue with the rest of this masterclass, with the rest of this workshop. That's right. Well done. As you arrive, I'm just going to invite you to take a sip of water if you have something like that. And now we have ahead of us one important step, and that is shame-free living, self-hypnosis. So as you are opening your eyes, I'm just going to invite you now to close your eyes once again and allow yourself to relax, because I have prepared this specific script. It is for the next 10-15 minutes to guide you through this self-hypnosis recording. And like I said, this self-hypnosis recording will be available for you in 2 formats, with the background and without background, after this masterclass, including the recording of this masterclass. So as you close your eyes, I'm just going to guide you through this self-hypnosis. And it is called shame-free living. And this session will guide you to release the weight of shame and step into a life full of self-assurance, clarity, and empowerment. Now, before we begin, you ensure you're in a safe and quiet place and free from distractions. And as you take a moment to find a comfortable position, you can allow yourself to relax quite naturally, because this is your time to shift your focus inward and connect with your deeper self, free to let go of outside concerns. You can allow your eyes to close gently, and as you do, you can imagine a sense of relaxation spreading over you, like a warm, soothing wave washing over your entire being. And with each exhale, you can notice how your body grows lighter and your mind becomes quieter, more open, and more receptive. And as you take a deep and long breath in, you can exhale and you can allow yourself to appear in this safe and secure and serene space, a space where transformation begins, where your conscious and subconscious align in harmony from now and into the future. And in this special place, you can imagine a soft screen appearing in front of you. This screen holds the power to reveal parts of your past and guide you toward your future. And on this screen, an image begins to form. It is a version of you in a moment from the past, a moment that you visited just a couple of moments ago, a moment where shame used to cloud your sense of worth. And you can look at this scene now as though you are watching a movie. You can notice the details, how they transform in front of your eyes. You can notice the setting, the people, the feelings. Perhaps it's a time when you felt you weren't enough, or when you apologized for simply being yourself. But now you allow the scene to play gently, without judgment, as though you are observing someone else's story. And as you are watching this movie now, you imagine a new energy entering the scene, a light that is surrounding you from your highest self, the you who lives shame free. This highest self steps into the scene, bringing confidence and clarity and warmth. And you can watch as this energy transforms the whole situation. You can see how this highest version of you stands tall, speaks with clarity, and sets healthy boundaries. You can notice how they no longer apologize for their existence or for saying no. You can watch how they confidently express their needs and desires, knowing they are deserving of respect and understanding. And as you observe this scene, as you observe this energy, you can feel this energy beginning to flow into you now, in this moment. You are no longer bound by the shame of the past. Instead, you feel a profound sense of freedom, as though a weight has been lifted. You can see yourself clearly now as someone who is worthy, deserving, and free to live authentically. And you can now take this experience even deeper now. How would it feel like to feel the strength of saying no when something doesn't align with your values? How would it feel like to feel the joy of saying yes to what truly matters to you? As you imagine yourself in situations that make you feel so good, so confident, so natural, shame free, you can notice how others respond to your self assurance with respect and admiration. This is your reality now. You can let these affirmations guide your transformation. As I speak, you allow them to just wash over you and through you. I release the shame of the past and embrace the freedom of the present. I honor my boundaries and respect my needs. That's right, I am worthy, deserving, and whole. I no longer seek approval. I live for my own joy and fulfillment. That's right, I deserve good things and welcome them into my life. And as you now return to the screen of your mind, you can watch as it transforms again, showing you your future self, the version of you who lives shame free every single day. You can see how they walk with confidence, speak with clarity, and act with purpose. They are themselves, authentically radiating a sense of inner peace and joy. As you step closer to this version of yourself, you can feel their energy as though it's drawing you in, aligning you with their strength and freedom. And at the count of three, you can step fully into this version of yourself as I count from one and two and three. That's right. You are now living as this empowered, shame free version of you. You can see what you see through your own eyes and hear what you hear through your ears and feel what you feel in your body as you notice how natural it is to live this way. This is who you are, confident, deserving, and whole. You can let these affirmations deepen in your mind. I am free from shame. I am enough exactly as I am. I know what I want and I go for it without hesitation. I am deserving of respect. I am deserving of love. I am deserving of happiness. I trust myself to make choices that honor my worth. As you take a deep breath in, holding onto this feeling of freedom, and exhale slowly, anchoring it deep within you. This sense of empowerment will stay with you, guiding your actions, your thoughts, and decisions. effortlessly. And you can now imagine yet another scenario right there in front of you, even more confident, even more natural, seeing yourself in situation that lets you feel that you are in control of your boundaries. That's right, in control of your standards. That's right, in control of your life. How does it feel like to see yourself over there, living shame free, living naturally, confidently, authentically? And how does it feel like to now again step into yourself and now again see what you see and hear what you hear and feel what you feel, as it is quite natural to be in this situation, to be this authentic, to be this confident, to have courage to say yes to want what you want to say yes, to have courage to say no to what you want to say no, and to have clarity to be able to tell the difference. As you take a deep breath in, you can allow yourself to settle even more into this new way, this natural way, more authentic way of being. And now, as we prepare to return to the present moment, you can know that you have stepped into a new way of being. You are shame free, fully aligned with your worth and potential. And now I'm going to count to three. And with each number, you will return feeling refreshed, empowered, and ready to embrace your life with clarity and joy. As I count from one, and you are slowly returning back to the present moment, and two, listening to my voice that is guiding you out of this wonderful state, and three, opening your eyes, returning to the present moment, fully present and free to live as your truest, most confident self. And I welcome you back.